today we got to take part in something that we love doing, which is volunteering for Wreaths Across America. If you've never heard of it, look it up. It's really cool. It's an organization, a nonprofit organization that makes sure that every military grave in the US has a wreath on it at Christmas time. We went to Arlington National Cemetery today and helped to lay some of those out. So it's Saturday right now and I'm just gonna do a little bit of work, but I actually got a question, so thank you very much, from Julie, who asked let me make sure I get this right. She asked, will you share how you plan out your content? I'd be happy to. However, let me caveat by saying, I learn the most just by talking to other marketing managers and learning what they're doing and what's working for them in real time. And so that's why I have this here. It's not necessarily because I'm really good at anything. And what I'm really not good at is organizing things. I know that there are many, many very sophisticated high-tech scheduling tools out there, but this is my scheduling tool on how I plan out my content. I look at my calendar. But it is a good question though, because basically how I brainstorm what I want to talk about on my social media content, it revolves around my loop of content that I've talked about before, which is, so typically the easiest way for me to do it is I make a YouTube video, then I make that YouTube video into a blog post, I make that blog post into an email campaign, and then I also make that blog post / email campaign into a variety of social media posts for the week. So what my work usually looks like is I'll have one YouTube video a week, which turns into about a week's worth of social media content. And so then the next week is content based around that new YouTube video. See what I'm saying? So that's how I plan it out. And I look at the calendar, you know, at the end of March is when I start to do more content about air conditioning. At the end of August, September is when I start to do more content about the heating season. This is roughly speaking here. And so yeah, I am a paper planner. I write stuff down on paper, and I've made a video about it before on kind of the method that I use. I use just a bunch of lists to keep myself organized, and I also mostly rely on my planner that I use for work. And I love using these big ones because then you have a lot of space to write on each day of the month, because I'm just such a visual person. I try to do social media planning on an Excel spreadsheet, but I just don't get, it doesn't really work for me. Like, I need to see it on a calendar. I don't know. I think I'm just old school that way here. I think every Tuesday at, I think it's 7 a.m. is when my video always posts on YouTube for my channel that I do for work. And then I will use the Facebook Creator Studio or the Facebook Business Suite, just depends on what I'm doing at the time, to schedule my social media posts. My social media, it really consists of Facebook is kind of my main platform that I focus on, because that's just where our customers tend to be. You know, they kind of skew a little older. But I do have an Instagram account as well that's mostly just tied to Facebook, and so it just automatically posts everything that gets posted on Facebook. Then I also will post a lot on Nextdoor. Now, I did want to tell you that I listened to a webinar yesterday with Mari Smith, and if you don't know who Mari Smith is, she is the queen of Facebook, and so she is a guru, a marketing guru that I will certainly listen to her webinars, because she always has really good information. So if you want the Clip Notes version of her 2-hour-long webinar from yesterday, I've got it for you right here. Let me get my notes out. Oh, that's another thing that I do, as I have like a different notebook for different things sitting on my desk. I'm telling you, I'm a paper person. So like this notebook is all my social media content ideas. And so if I'm listening to a webinar, or I see somebody else do something that looks really cool, or think of an idea myself, I will write it down in this notebook so that I know where to go when I'm looking for inspiration for social media stuff. This is my YouTube notebook where I plan out my content here. It's like I'm planning out, this is where I will write down if I'm researching different keywords or different kind of topic ideas, I'll write it out here. And so this is where I go when I'm looking for inspiration for YouTube videos. I'm not saying that anybody should do this, but this is just how I do it since you asked. So, and I appreciate you wondering because I would be curious about the same thing. Okay, Cliff Notes version of the Mari Smith marketing webinar yesterday, which was all about organic marketing on Facebook. So I'm probably gonna make another video based off of some of this content because I will test out some of these techniques and then report back to share, you know, how it does. But this is what Mari Smith said yesterday in her webinar. Oh, and also, yes, I do have a text mug. Mari Smith yesterday had a webinar all about Facebook organic reach. And when I hear that, my ears perk up. Like, I will listen to that webinar. And it was 2 hours long. And a lot of the information I already knew, but some of it was new. And she gave me a hot little tip yesterday that I'll share with you here as well. Here are her tips. 1, post more video content. 2, use Facebook Live more regularly. And a tip on that is that she says you don't actually have to go live. You could pre-record a video, edit it, make sure that everything's okay so that you're not freaking out about being live. And then you can broadcast it as though it is live. Like you can set it up to be as a broadcast. That I was like, okay, you know, if Facebook really wants to push live video, I have video that I just post right now, but maybe I should set that up as a broadcast and it might get more of an organic reach. So I'm gonna test that out and let you know later. Number 3, that Facebook favors image posts with a link and not just a link post. So instead of posting a link as a post, create a post with a link embedded in it if you want people to like visit your website. She says to add hashtags to all posts. I've told you that before because that just makes them searchable. She also said to strive to have 1 to 3 active stories on Facebook at any given time. I definitely agree with this. I have not been doing a lot of stories. Mostly what I use my stories for are to have like polls. But she said to have 1 to 3 active stories at any given time because you're just at the top of feed. She was saying top of feed, top of mind. And I was like, Mari, that is absolutely true. This was something that I thought was interesting. She says that when you make a post on Facebook or Instagram that has that colored background, and I'll show you what I mean. Let me go, because I just posted one today. So this is what I'm talking about. If you go into your Creator Studio and you click to make a new post, see this little button right here? This adds a colorful background to your post, which apparently gets a lot more organic reach than just your typical post. So choose a background right here and then create a post. Apparently, if you use a background with a color like this to make just a regular post, these types of posts will get a lot more organic engagement than others. So I am testing out this theory and I will report back to you with what I find out. And she says it does not make a difference if you're using a tool to schedule content. That doesn't seem to affect any kind of organic reach at all. So go ahead and schedule all you want with whatever tool you want. That's the short version. So I sat through 2 hours so that I could bring you those tips here today. I hope that that is helpful for you. Also, to answer that question a little bit further on how I plan out my content. In a normal time of life, I try to have like a week's worth at least of social media posts already scheduled on for, you know, Facebook and Instagram. This month I have gotten a bit delinquent in that, and I've been kind of doing it the day of, just because I've had so much family in town, it's been hard to get ahead. And like I said, it sounds daunting to schedule a month's worth of social media posts when you don't have really any ideas and you're just trying to be totally unique. But that's why just get yourself a Dollar Tree notebook and just start writing down ideas whenever they come to you. And so that way you can just reference it when you need to come up with a good post idea. If anybody else has a question on how I do anything as a small business marketing manager, please leave them in the comments below and I'd be happy to answer them in a video for you as well. I enjoyed making this video, sharing on how I come up with my content and how I plan it out, but I'm definitely not saying that this is the right way to do it, because you should do whatever works best for you. It makes a huge difference that I am a marketing department of one. If I had another employee in the marketing department with me, that would be, I would probably do things totally differently, because I can really just focus on whatever works best for me. But if I was working with a group, this is not how I would be planning content at all. Perfect example is, so when we were a part of an event like sponsoring this 5K and I'm working with the social media team of this other organization, that's when I planned out all my content in a very nice looking Excel spreadsheet so that I could send it to multiple people so that everybody could review it and so that everybody would be aware of what was being posted on social media through that spreadsheet. So that's how I would probably do it if I was working with more people. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you all have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.